What's up, guys? Thank you for being patient while waiting for us. As you can see, we can't get Smitty's camera to go. It's either the odd. I'm sorry, and then I was getting double audio in my headphones. But we're here. You guys can hear Smitty, right? Smitty, how we doing on this Sunday?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Always a busy day. Just posted the plug. I'm assuming this Herbert captain is talking about Justin Herbert, and yeah, that's the cover boy for today. Chargers look really good in the model. You can check that out on the Occupy site. Let's see. What's up, Heath? How we doing? Courtney, good to see you. You had a pretty good score last night. So good hit, dude. And our guy Jayhawk had a really good lineup last night, and it was basically the core that we posted on the stream with just a couple of adjustments. So shout out to Jayhawk for a pretty good one.
Nice, man. Yeah, we've been on a roll.
Yeah, the whole team. So hopefully we can keep that up tonight. The schedule is going to get a little weird with the NBA Cup this week, but we still have a lot of good NBA DFS stuff. So let's start off the show with probably, I guess, the same thing we talked about yesterday to start the show. What are we doing with Washington?
Oh man. Yeah, it's always a fun slate when you have Washington as the chalk team. I just finished a fresh run of my lineups, and it ain't pretty, but they're good plays. They're underpriced for the roles that they're going to have here. Jordan Poole is the most expensive one. He's probably the one I'd most likely be underweight to just because of his price tag. He needs more to get there. But then you have Joe Val, 5,300. We have him at 67% ownership. And that seems a little high given that he's center only, but I still think he's a good play. And then Justin Champagny looks like one of the core pieces to most of my builds. And then Carrington looks like a pretty solid play. Other than that, I think Jared Butler's worth a few shots, but not someone I'm getting to in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, yesterday Jayhawk and I were pretty on board the fade Jared Butler train, and luckily it worked out. Carlton Carrington started off so strong, and then he just stopped doing anything. And so he didn't quite get there, but we like going back to him today. The situation's the same. And on Jordan Poole, yeah, you mentioned you don't love him, but over on DraftKings at that 7,100, I would be pretty interested. Had a monster game yesterday, and the 7,200 on FanDuel. It's just how do we deal with this 50% ownership? So I'm with the field on both sides right now. Hopefully that's around where I'll stay. Did you mention Bilal Koulibaly?
I didn't, but I do think he's interesting. Right now, I'm over the field on him. He's showing 8% ownership on DraftKings, and then FanDuel, he's almost 20% at the same price tag. So I think he's pretty interesting, especially we have him for 36 minutes.
And I agree with the field identifying him as a better play on FanDuel. The coach made a comment that his shot isn't falling right now, but he loves the defense that he's bringing. And we have him projected for 36 and a half minutes. So I think the FanDuel ownership is fine. And like Smitty just kind of said, the DraftKings ownership is probably slightly light. So I think we could get over the field there. We saw Marvin Bagley play just a few minutes off the bench. I think Anthony Gill jumped in there too. I want to say Anthony Gill had ownership yesterday, which I don't know that I agree with, but he's 3K today. I mean, are we looking at Bagley, Gill, or even Johnny Davis, who actually did have a good game yesterday?
I don't mind Bagley. I think he's someone that if he happened to run into more minutes, he could get there. The only problem is he's center only on every site. And then Gill, he's just not very good point per minute, so it's hard to see him getting there. But at min price, we have him at 0% ownership. I just kind of think he comes in higher than that, but not someone I have a ton of interest in.
It's just we talk about these min price guys not needing to do much, but they have to do something. And this, like, if we're hoping for 13 fantasy points playing Anthony Gill, I just, he's not pulling any ownership, but I did see him pull ownership the last couple of slates with Washington. So just probably don't even have to consider him. On the other side of this game, were you worried about anyone on Memphis sitting?
Yeah, I kind of am, especially with the position or the state of the Wizards roster. I just kind of feel like it's a pretty good rest spot for them. You have Jaw and Bane both questionable, which is automatically a red flag. So I feel like we could be having a lot of ownership in this game.
Yeah, and we actually this is something that we talk about with Jaw on the stream every day. We had him projected for was it 32 minutes yesterday, which I thought was a couple minutes high for a projection, but he ended up playing 34, and it's like I was watching the game and he came out early in the fourth And then there was like 6 minutes left and he still hadn't come back. And the announcers were like talking about it, like Jaw's not coming back yet. Is he coming back? Whatever. But he did close out the game, finished with 61 fantasy points. And so I like before I looked at anything, I leaned towards Jaw sitting out today, which would make Scottie Pippen Jr. probably a top play on both sides, especially if we get that news as close to lock as possible, so people don't swap off the Washington guys. And then JJJ, I thought was a risk for sitting too because he also played a almost season high 34 minutes, played fantastic. But if they're in, I don't mind going right back to them because I'm just going to assume they're good to go if they're playing, and it's a weak Washington team.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then on JJJ, if those guys do sit and we see Jaren Jackson play, I think he's really interesting going against Washington here.
Hold on, we got some. I thought that was an ad. Sorry, this comment kind of distracted me. I'll get to it in a second. I just want to finish out Memphis. Did you just say Brandon Clark, or am I imagining that?
You're imagining that. I thought Triple J was a good play if these guys are out. Even if they're in, it's a good matchup as long as he's in. And then, assuming they are out, you mentioned Pippen. I think, especially if Jaren Jackson was to somehow get ruled out, I think Aldama's a really good play. And then Laravia would be way too cheap.
Yeah, Brandon Clark came in basically unowned yesterday. He was a pivot off whoever, but put up 40 fantasy points in 26 minutes. I want to say that was a season high in minutes too, and he was playing really well, so he stayed on the court. I was kind of hoping he would hold off JJJ, but JJJ went ballistic in like the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. But yeah, if he's out, I can't imagine Brandon Clark not becoming chalk. And because it's Sunday, I don't think the field's going to get there, even though it's the first game. And so this is a spot if JJJ's out that I'm probably going to play heavily.
Yeah, I agree. And then Jay Huff would probably come into play too at only basically a min price center.
Yeah, very. This is a very important game, first game on the slate. So similar to yesterday, we're taking up a lot of our roster spots with this first game's value, but like this is good guaranteed value. We don't know we're going to get other value later. We have a couple pieces of news, but I'm okay just jamming pieces from this first game, and especially if Memphis guys end up missing.
Yeah, definitely.
What's up, Barry? Good to see you. Spaniard wasn't a Jayhawk hit, but you had 365 last night on DK. Hey, we'll take 365.
Yep.
Is J-Val a thing today? Assuming he's starting, I think he's just underpriced, and the coach seems like he's willing to play the minutes. The problem is he's not playing against a big center on the other side, so I think there's more risk of him not getting full run.
Yeah. Man, Charbonnet's going off right now.
Did he have 3 touchdowns already?
I think so. I don't know. I just keep seeing my Yahoo winnings go up.
Our guy Moose sent something to us like 100% Garendo, 100% Charbonnet. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But that's the sharp takes here. Heath put up 402 on DK. Good stuff, man. Chose to listen to our show over Stochastic last night. Best decision. Sat in first place down to the last game. Finished in 9th. Needed a bit more from Watson. Yeah, Watson was like the weak spot on a lot of people's lineups. But good stuff, man. Thanks for letting us know. We love to hear that. Heath was a half point out of first. Isn't that just disgusting? Like 1 rebound is worth how much money?
Yeah, it's terrible, especially with how top heavy most contests are.
Well, at Chuck, who's your favorite center not named Jovel? Smitty, who's your favorite center not named Jovel?
Let's see who I'm getting to on DraftKings. Wemby is my second highest rostered center.
Me too. Yeah, on DraftKings it's Wemby, and then over on FanDuel, this can't be right.
I will mention I don't mind the other side of that either. Misi, I think, is a pretty decent play on DraftKings.
Yeah, I bumped Joval up to try to get more on FanDuel. I bumped him up too much because it gave me 150 out of 150, so I need to turn that down. But yeah, I like Joval today. We'll take a closer look as we go through the other teams.
Yeah, I have a ton of Joval.
And then since we just mentioned Wemby, is he a must play if he's in, or is he too risky with limited minutes? Let's go to the Spurs.
I don't think he was actually hurt personally, so I'm not too worried about it. Even if he plays 30 minutes, I think that's fine.
Yeah, this 10-3 on DK is a really appealing price at 19% ownership. We do have him projected for 33. I don't really see a reason to project him for less. We can't project him for more. But 7.5 point spread. BI left yesterday's game, so the Pelicans are hurt once again. he's already ruled out, right?
Yeah, yeah, they said indefinitely.
Okay, so I mean, how often do we see the Spurs as 7.5 point favorites? But I like getting to Wemby. The model approves. I want to say he was what, third, fourth overall after Jokic, AD, and Giannis. So I don't think it's so much getting to Wemby. It's just how much are we not getting to the other guys on DK. AD is really the only other consideration, maybe Braun, but on FanDuel we have more decisions to make.
Yep.
And for San Antonio, we had some stuff going on last time. Everyone thought that Sochan was going to start at center. We got the news late that Zach Collins was starting at center, which made Zach Collins a great play. This was on Friday, and the field did not swap, dude. That was one of the biggest edges I can remember in late swap in a long time because Sochan still came in way overowned. Zach Collins was way underowned, and then nothing mattered because Zach Collins got himself ejected. But what do you see going on with this San Antonio team today? I know that Wemby's back, so Zach Collins probably won't start.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in their secondary pieces. They're just kind of priced appropriately, or they're kind of priced for Wimby out. Like Chris Paul, 6,600. I have 1% of. I don't even really love that. And then Keldon, I think, is probably the second most interesting piece to me, or Devin Vassell. Just hoping he gets 30, 32 minutes and he shoots well. He's someone that could do good at shooting with shooting guard eligibility on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I see 5,300 for Devin Vassell at 7% ownership, even though we only have him projected for 26 minutes. I'm still over the field on that. 5,300 just sounds too good to be true. Really like it. And did you mention Keldon?
Yeah, yeah, them two are my favorite plays.
Okay, nice. And then, I mean, I called out Champagne as the GPP play from this team, but the ownerships are so wildly different that it's a different situation today. He is 1%. He is a GPP play. Uh, I mean, he was in my winning lineup the other night, so I have a little bit of a bias towards him today. But 5,100 at 1%, I think he's still worth more than 1%. And Stephon Castle, 5,200, his price should be closer to his FanDuel price.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
And last note, I'll say I'm actually over the field on Chris Paul right now. I just seem to be over the field on Chris Paul every day. I always talk about it. Like this 6K price point for point guards just keeps finding its way into my lineups.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. The one thing I will say too is just be watching because they could throw out a different starting lineup with Wemby back. You would think they want Sohan back in the starting lineup, so maybe they remove Barnes from there.
It makes sense to me. Let's go to the other side of the Spurs game. So, alluded to it with New Orleans. Brandon Ingram got hurt like 15
Oh,
seconds into the second. Did we get news?
we just got Bain and Morant out.
All right. So, let's wait a few minutes and we'll refresh Memphis. But this is slate changing. So, what we gotta be able to adjust new information. So, we'll go to that in a second. But with New Orleans, with them missing Brandon Ingram today, what are we doing?
I think my favorite play from here is probably Dejounte. I'm getting to a little bit more CJ than I am Dejounte right now, but that's prior to me making some adjustments. So I think Dejounte is probably the better play, but points per dollar wise, I have CJ as a better play. And then Trey Murphy, they're going to need his offense here. The Spurs aren't really a team that I really have much fear in. So I think he's a pretty solid play. And then Misi, I mentioned him. He's center only, so it kind of hurts, but I think he's a pretty solid value play.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with all of it. I see a couple people are asking about Macy, and I mean, I think that's the thing with him. He's kind of up and down, and so you just got to take his okay games so that we can play him when we get those ceiling games 41, 44 at 5K. I mean, this is a pivot from Joe Val at least today if you want to get away from Joe Val and mix in a lower owned piece.
Yep. And Javante Green was just rolled out as well. So that's we have him for 21 minutes. So that's another 21 minutes that is going to go around. So it could make someone here pretty interesting. We'll have to see when the model updates.
I was going to mention Herb Jones again. I mentioned him yesterday. He was 5K yesterday. I played him. He shot 8 for 10, which is unlikely to happen again, but he only had one stock, still put up 35. He played 37 minutes, which is like huge because he's just coming off an injury and it's a back to back. So if he's in today, I'm just going to assume he's good to go. Minutes are not limited. And maybe with Javante Green ruled out, he shows up more in other optimizers. His value scores should go up, but I'm pretty happy with these ownerships on Herb Jones. More interested on FanDuel just for the stock upside.
Yeah, I agree.
Next game, let's talk about Minnesota and Golden State. What's your interest in Minnesota here?
I don't have a ton of interest in them as a whole. I kind of think they're just good GPP plays. I'm getting a little bit over the field on Ant right now. I think he's an okay GPP play, and then Mike Conley's just kind of a filler play. I'm getting to a little bit of Nas, and then I think DiVincenzo at 4,100 on DraftKings is worth some stabs.
Yeah, pretty much agree with all of that. To me, just GPP plays. I talk about Mike Conley shows up as my highest exposed Timberwolf every day. I have to turn him down every day. But again, if he's the last man in, it's probably okay.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the lower total games. Not a ton of interest.
And I will say, no one stands out for OF index. I mean, Anthony Edwards 10.5 is okay, but the other options on the slate are just more appealing. And then in terms of absolute value, like Mike Conley shows up as okay value at 4,900, and on FanDuel, Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley are okay value. I mean, these ownerships are fine. So, like I said, if they show up, I'm okay with it. And Mike Conley's minutes, I've said it before, plus or minus 5 from this number.
Yep.
On the other side of this game, Golden State, we did get news that Andrew Wiggins is out. And is Moses Moody questionable?
Yeah, Moody is questionable.
Okay, so what are you doing with Golden State today?
I think Kaminga is probably my favorite play from here on DraftKings. 5,200 just seems slightly too cheap. We have him for 28 minutes. The model still has Wiggins in, so it's possible his minutes come up even a little bit more. But I have to see what the model thinks. But there could be a few interesting plays. It's just they run such a deep rotation. I think it's mostly GPP plays.
Yeah, I did just refresh it, but the model is still going to be updating the minutes, so you always got to give it a few updates before it gets to where it's trying to be. But I agree with Smitty. Steph 8,500, or I'm sorry, 9,500 on DraftKings is just super GPP play, but the 8,300 on FanDuel, I could see getting to a little more than the 5%. Draymond made a comment about how he feels about coming off the bench, talking about, well, if Kaminga's the next guy up, then, he needs to start showing it. And so Kaminga looks really good, 5,200, 5,900. I'm a little surprised he's not even higher owned on DraftKings, but I do like getting there, even in this tough matchup. So that's probably the spot I like the most. And I'll just point out Kevin Looney is the top of DraftKings value. If he's starting at 4K, I think he's probably okay around 8%.
Yeah, I agree. I'm around there myself. It's basically him and Kaminga that I'm getting to right now.
I think I'm the same over on DK. Yeah, literally just him and Kaminga exposure from this team. Nice. Let's see some questions in here. You don't think Harden plays? What time is this game? You think Harden's out too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is the next game, so let's just jump to the Clippers. Yeah, talk to me about this spot.
Yeah, this is his first questionable tag of the season. It just kind of feels like a rest spot for him on a Sunday. I mean, maybe he plays, but there's other games that I like pieces of too in these late games. So I'll have plenty of exposure. But right now, I think Kevin Porter Jr. looks like one of the best GPP plays on the slate, especially, I mean, that's assuming Harden's out. But I have around 70% right now, so I'm going pretty aggressive on that. And then Norman Powell also becomes a better play. And Chris Dunn, he's questionable as well, but I do have him boosted a little bit in hopes that he plays.
So you mentioned you have a lot of Kevin Porter. Are you anticipating swapping off some of that once we get more concrete news?
Yeah, I probably will, especially with this Memphis news too. I probably won't be as heavy on Kevin Porter, but assuming that we get that news that Harden's out, I'll be above the field on Kevin Porter Jr. I just want to give enough flexibility to be able to have as much as I can because I think the field will be hesitant to get there.
Do you think he starts?
I think he does.
All right. So with James Harden off the court in 209 minutes this year, Kevin Porter has a 33% usage rating, which is more than elite. Around 30 is elite, 20 is about league average for reference. 37% leads the league. So Kevin Porter, we could expect a minutes bump. The model's not updated for James Harden being out. So if you think Harden doesn't play, you can just kind of ignore all this. And I would bump Norman Powell, who gets a 9.5% usage bump. He gets up to 37% usage, which it's number one in the NBA. It's a smaller minute sample. It's only 80 minutes this season, but it does sound correct. Norman Powell's been insanely efficient this year, so would really like Norman Powell at 6,100. And then, did you talk about Zubac?
I didn't know.
Okay. Well, in the chat, they're saying if Harden's out, we like getting to Zubac. What do you think about that?
He just seems kind of priced appropriately at 7,500 on FanDuel. I'd be more interested.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any kind of usage bump for Zubac when Harden is off the court, and I'm not quite sure how it would affect the minutes. Maybe it's like, well, Harden's gone. We need to keep Zubac in there a little longer as an anchor, but we have him projected for 34 minutes. I'm sorry, 32 minutes as it is right now, and he's showing up as fine, I guess. He is 3 and 4% owned, so we can take some shots there. I'll point out his usage rate with James Harden off the court in 137 minutes this season is only 21%, so league average.
Yeah. One thing too is like if Harden's in and Dunn is out, KPJ is still a pretty good play. So I'm not too worried to be overweight there. Just hoping at least one of them's out. Norman Powell, you talked about him. He's shooting guard, small forward eligibility on DraftKings too. Just makes him that much better.
And I talked about him being, this would just be the wrong price for him on DraftKings, and maybe 6,800 on FanDuel is closer to the correct price, but I'm still going to be very interested depending on what his ownership jumps to over there.
Yep.
The other side of this game, Houston, we have a couple questionable tags here, right?
Yeah, Fred VanVleet's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jayshawn Tate, which don't really matter.
Fred VanVleet. Do you know if he went through shoot around?
I'm not sure, but I have Almond boosted too, so I should have plenty of room to kind of play with this game. That's kind of my goal on this slate.
Okay, nice. Yeah, you mentioned Amon Thompson, who I would assume would get the start if Fred VanVleet ends up missing, and if you can swap to him, because we're going to get that news after lock. And like I mentioned, a lot of the exposures are going to be taken up by this first game. He's going to be an awesome swap, and I'm going to put some of him in right now preemptively, and then I can swap off it if I need to or just keep it. But I think it's good to try to get over Amon in the case that Fred VanVleet sits.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at too. And then say that does happen, he's shooting guard, small forward eligibility as well. So if Harden sits, you could swap to Norm Powell if you have $100, or if Harden plays, you could swap to Almond, assuming Fred VanVleet sits. That's kind of just my goal here. I don't have a ton of Almond. I have about 30% right now, just getting overweight.
Just not a ton, just 10x the field.
Not as much as KPJ, just because he's more expensive.
So let's say Fred VanVleet's in. What's your interest here?
I would have quite a bit. Let's see. I would have some interest there. 7,300 seems like a pretty good price. I don't love targeting the Clippers, but he's been pretty good lately, so I don't hate getting there at all.
Yeah, that's the only thing for me is the Clippers matchup. We do have a 214.5 total, so at least it's above 210, right? Not by much.
Yep.
But yeah, Fred VanVleet is currently my highest exposed player from this team on both sides. On FanDuel, I'm getting 30% of Fred VanVleet, so maybe I'll balance that a little bit, get a little more Amon Thompson. And then if Fred plays, I'm really going to like him. 9.7 OF rating. His value is okay for the price, 73 and 7,100, but the ownership is probably too low.
Yeah, I agree.
Smitty, is Pippen a must-have now for DK single entry?
I haven't reran my stuff, but I would say he's pretty good. He's only 4,100, so it's basically, he's starting. Like, assuming he starts, you don't know if KPJ is going to have as big of a role.
Right. So model's still not updated. I don't know if I'm going to be able to rerun it before the stream ends, but we do have Jayhawk in the is it Jayhawk today? Yeah, Jayhawk in the Discord live after we're done streaming here in about 15 minutes. So instructions to join that are in the description below. If you guys have any questions, I see a lot of viewers here. Throw them in the chat, and we'll try to get to them before we get out of here. Wells pivot off Champagne. Yeah, we'll talk about him when we get to the update from Memphis. Top FanDuel value plays. Just sorting by the model. Justin Champagne, Jonas Valanciunas, Russell Westbrook, Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Ayton, Bilal Coulibaly, Jordan Poole. What do you like from the top of FanDuel value?
I like Champagne probably the most.
I think I just named a player that already played, but yeah, most of these guys are still good. Champagne is currently in 100% of my lineups. I really don't see that changing. Like, he's projected for 71 and 80, and it's kind of absurd. And I talked about jamming in these bad values, but I don't think he's a bad value like the other ones that we got. His OF index is 8. He's 3,500 on DraftKings. I don't see any reason to fade him at all.
No.
And then with Jonas, he's also projected for massive ownership, but I could see the argument for getting away. He's projected for 29. If you told me with 100% certainty he's playing 29 minutes, yeah, I'm going to play all the Joval. But I think I am going to cap it. Just, what if he loses a rotation or they don't need his size against Memphis and the whole field is just burned?
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts with Joval too. Is they don't really need him here, so it's kind of sketchy in a way. But especially when the field's there, and on FanDuel where you can only play one center, I'm more likely to get away from him.
Yeah, and just whatever projection you're using, it's going to jam in Joval today. I mean, the model has him as a 10.20 off index at 5,300, which is absurd. But like I said, I was getting 100%. I'm going to cap him. I don't know where I'm going to cap him yet. I just know I don't want 100% of Joval today. I think it's a little risky. I think it is a good high risk fade, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Harden revenge? Yeah, we'll see if he plays. KPJ revenge spot. They released him. Didn't he do something bad to get released?
Yeah.
Don, I'm sorry, we can't go through the lineups. It takes too much time. We do it for everybody. The guy asked which center we like other than Joval, and we answered with Joval. Well, fair point. Fair point. I mean, the other options going by FanDuel value, DeAndre Ayton, Brandon Clark, but you can play him at power forward. Mentioned Missy, who's showing up as a model approved value shot. Jabari Smith, also power forward eligible. The problem is the centers are just so bad today. I mean, we have Anthony Davis, who we can pay up for, but he's also power forward eligible. John Collins, power forward. Sabonis, power forward. So, I mean, are there any center only plays that you think stand out at all besides Jovel?
No, not really. I think Walker Kessler's a pretty good play, but
Yeah.
then well, he's not center only, but I think Jaren Jackson's a really good play on FanDuel now.
Yeah, and if you do want to get away from Joval on FanDuel, you might end up playing one of these power forward eligible guys in the center, which is fine. Don't force yourself to play a center only play today, anyway. Top payups for FanDuel cash. Don't feel good about Wemby. Feel like he's going to be limited. Well, just go ahead and sort by ownership. The top payup on FanDuel: Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jordan Poole. So cash lineup should probably. You think all three of those guys in a cash lineup?
Yeah, I probably would. Seems like we have plenty of value.
And then let's take a look at top DK values just real quick. Champagne again, Valanciunas, J Huff, Koulibaly, Looney, Jordan Poole, Brandon Clark, Jalen Wells, who I saw a couple questions about. I'm going to refresh the model and see what that looks like. But what stands out to you here?
I think J Huff's kind of interesting to. He's third in DK value, only 6% ownership. I kind of mentioned I would have interest in him earlier, and I still have some interest there. I think he's pretty decent at almost min price on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Do you think he pulls the start?
I don't know. They could go a few different ways. I kind of see them just going Triple J at the 5 and then starting like Clark at the 4. So probably not.
Okay. All right, so model's still crunching, but we did get those guys out. Scottie Pippen Jr. jumped to a monster DK value, as well as Jalen Wells. Both also look very good on FanDuel. We also have Jake LaRavia showing up better. Brandon Clark with this is the team now. This whole game, we're doing the same thing we did yesterday.
Yeah, this game just seems like you definitely don't want to miss it. There's some good pieces here. Mine still hasn't refreshed. I'm going to refresh it again.
Brian, I don't think Huff is out. I don't see that on Underdog, but let me know if that's official.
There we go. Mine's updated now. Yeah, Scottie Pippen, the top DK value play. Looks really good, 4,100, and then on FanDuel, 4,800 is still a really good price. Jalen Wells, second in value. I think he looks really good. He's 3,600, so this whole game just looks like a good game to be over on.
No worries, Brian. Just want to make sure we get the correct news. Smitty, will you rank Smart, Pippen, and Carrington?
Oh, man. Smart, Pippen, and Carrington. I would go Pippen, Carrington, Smart.
Pippen, Carrington, Smart. I think I would have Pippen, Smart, Carrington.
Yeah, it's kind of a toss up. I just think the minutes are more secure for Carrington.
It's just on DraftKings. I'm looking at Marcus Smart's price. He's 4,400 there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even look at price.
Yeah, it's 54 on FanDuel. So I get why Marcus Smart's going to pull 30% ownership. I don't know. I really don't know who's going to start. I don't know if they're going to start Smart and Scottie Pippen together because I'm pretty sure Jalen Wells is going to start, JJJ is going to start, and Brandon Clark's going to start.
Yeah,
Who
I don't think they will, but maybe.
Aldama? I don't think Aldama would start, but he looks good off the bench still at 5,400.
Yeah.
We should get that lineup in like 10 minutes, so we can head to the Discord Q&A and we can talk about that after. Let's go to the next game though before we build a dummy. We have two more games to get to. Let's talk about Utah real quick actually, because this was a pretty interesting spot. Utah versus Sacramento.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned Walker Kessler as a GPP play, and again, 6,700 at 2%. Like, I'm going to be over the field on Walker Kessler, even though Laurie and John Collins are both playing tonight. Very strong OF index, good value, and I just see 2 and 1% on a guy that just put up 50 last game in a plus matchup. How do we not play him?
Yeah. Like I said it the last time we were on. They've made it a point to start running more offense through him. They've figured out that it's working. So I think instead of just getting his 18, 20 rebound ceiling games, he's also putting up points plus his blocks. So I think he's a really good play when he's under 7K. So I have 10% right now. It's possible I get even more, but I'm still 5x the field, so I feel pretty good about that. And then John Collins is my second highest exposed play here. Just his power forward eligibility is pretty big. Going against the Kings, I think should be a good pace. Should have a good pace to this game. So I think Collins is really interesting as well.
Yep, I'm on board with Collins, particularly on FanDuel at 7,200. I don't think I mind playing him and Kessler together. We'll see if I get that combo much, though. And then I wanted to ask you about Keontae or Colin Sexton. What's your interest in these guys tonight? Basically the same price on both sites.
Yeah, I always have the preference towards Keontae. He does a little bit more of everything. Sexton, you're going to need him to score 30 real points probably to have a ceiling game. So I prefer the Keontae side, and I do have some interest there tonight. I'm over the field, not a crazy amount, but I think he's a good play.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken. I thought Colin Sexton was higher than Keontae last time on OF Index, but today Keontae has the slight edge over Colin Sexton. So if you need that tiebreaker, the model is giving you Keontae over Sexton.
I like it.
Other side of this game, Sacramento. I feel like Malik Monk entering the starting lineup just kind of killed everybody's upside. But what do you think about this spot?
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too. I think Sabonis is a pretty good play. I'm still underweight on him, but I think he's a good play. Other than that, they're all just kind of GPP plays, hoping for a ceiling. They're all priced for their ceilings, basically. So I find it pretty tough to get to.
Yeah, I mean, before I saw the ownerships, I thought I was going to be interested in De'Aaron Fox, but he's kind of pulling a little more ownership than I was expecting. And then I thought Malik Monk would pull more ownership. His price is up on DraftKings to 7,400. I think it's been around here on FanDuel. One of the two was higher than the other. But anyways, around 7 and 11%. What's your interest in Malik Monk?
I have 5% of him right now. I have 5% of him, Fox, and DeRozan. So
Okay.
just kind of feel like they're all just kind of filler plays.
Are you going to try to add more, you think? Or
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting to more Monk. I think for his price, he probably has the highest upside.
yeah, just considering the ceiling case for him, and he has a 10.0 off index, very strong. I think I'd like to at least be around the field on him.
Yeah.
And these guys kind of GPP plays. Kevin Werder, 4,700. I think we can consider, and that's about it for me.
Yep.
Let's talk about Portland and the Lakers real quick. My Lakers are tragic. So how do we lose? How are we going to lose to Portland tonight? Who's going to do it?
Yeah, Portland, there's a few Q tags here, which are actually kind of important. Scoot's questionable, as he has been the past few games. And then Kamara is also questionable. Left the last game after playing 8 minutes. So if you assume he's out, it's kind of hard to judge who gets like the minutes boost there. But I think Avdia would be a pretty decent play. So I'm getting to a little bit more Avdia than the field. And then Jeremy Grant's minutes become a little more secure. I haven't loved the usage for him this season, but I'm still getting to a little bit. Them two are probably my favorite plays, and then Shaden Sharp looks like a good GPP play, along with Banton.
So it looks like we already have Kamara ruled out, and then in the model anyway. And so I've been talking about Denny Avdia's minutes. Last time we had him projected for 25. He got a 2-minute bump to 27, 5,600 on FanDuel. Don't mind taking the shots there. You mentioned Jeremy Grant, and he had like an okay game last time. He lost a lot of time because of the blowout, but it's the same problem that I've had with him this year. 11 shots, 10, 10, 12, 6, 10, 10. I need him to like have the potential to take over a game, you know?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
And so it's tough. I'll just mention we have him projected for 37. If the game stays close, maybe he gets up there. But Chauncey Billups is so weird with his rotations. He benched DeAndre Ayton 2 minutes into the second half last game. Tonight we have him projected for 36. I'm guessing people are going to be nervous to play him. But I see a spot like this that's under-owned because of real life stuff that could get in the way, and I'm probably going to force in more Ayton.
Yeah, I didn't know if Ayton was a good play or a bad play, but like you said, the field's not getting there, so you could lean into it. Like Billups was pissed; he was so mad at Ayton, and his press conference, he was just going off about how lazy he is and whatever. So maybe Ayton takes that serious, and we see him perform.
Maybe Suns fans were right.
Yeah.
But for me, this is a spot where I think the price is still fine on both sides, more so on FanDuel. And like I said, it's kind of tough to find a center not named Joval. And so if he was high owned, I would have no interest. But because no one wants to play him, I think we can get there. And if he starts the game well playing against AD, maybe he heard Billups. Maybe he's going to pick up his effort, you know? And so it's a pretty strong play. And I'll mention Anthony Simons, who's a guy I'd like to be over the field on every day. He's only 3 and 8% owned today, so it's not going to take much.
Yeah, I agree. They're all just kind of high upside GPP plays.
And I will mention if Scoot is out, I look at Delano Ban. I never start the slate with him in my exposures, but if I need to save some min cashes later, like I have some bad lineups, he's always a guy that I swap in because a lot of the time it's not going to cash anyway. But if Delano Banton, he's saved lineups before.
Yeah, exactly. And then someone that like say Harden gets ruled in, Fred VanVleet's in, I'll probably be swapping to a little bit of Banton.
Nice, yeah, just another option in these in that last set of games, and then last team real quick. Let's talk about the Lakers. AD, LeBron went monster games last time. We still lost. Both very good OF indexes, strong value ratings, both pulling heavy ownership. What do you want to do with the two studs here?
Yeah, I'm getting to them in my lineups. I prefer the AD side of it. There's not a ton of centers we love. Like you kind of heard us question who else we like at center other than Joval. Well, AD looks pretty good. Center don't have a lot of opportunity costs, is what I'm trying to say. And LeBron, he looks okay. I just would much rather go to AD here.
That's how I always feel. And I've said it before, LeBron's never going to be in a winning screenshot for me, but he was. I barely had him that day. I was below the field. I was just lucky to have that combo. I'm probably going to be below the field again today. Price went up a little bit. It's 10-point spread. We're 10-point favorites, but we don't blow people out, man. So what about Dalton Connect at 49, 4,700? Like he's still pulling this ownership, and I still feel like it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree there too.
And I say it's wrong because I wish it was lower because I would try to get over the field, but I don't want to get over this 18%. It just, I think it's too much.
Yeah, I have 5% right now, so currently under the field, and I don't plan on getting a whole lot more, especially because I haven't even built for the Memphis news. And then the other player that I'm getting to that I was kind of wondering your thoughts. I'm getting to some Max Christie. We have him at 9% ownership, so I guess it's not a big surprise, but I'm getting to around 10%, and I'm fine with it.
I got even more than that on DraftKings. I'm at 16 right now.
Okay.
On FanDuel, I didn't get any. I got a couple percent of Rui, 7% of Connect, and then all the Anthony Davis and a little of LeBron.
Yeah.
Assuming Gabe Vincent starts again, he's 3,500 on DraftKings, projected for 1% ownership. He's definitely a worse play than all the other value we talked about. But if you need that play at the end of the night, or if you're playing the night slate showdown, whatever, if he's starting, he looks okay.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive focus is going to be on LeBron and AD, so he should have plenty of open looks. He was in the winning lineup on both sides last time he started.
Yep. Shout out to Gabe Vincent, man. You want to stack the Memphis Washington game? How many players from the game should you stack? How many are you allowed to play in one lineup? Yeah, let's build our dummy real quick, Smitty, and let's see how many players we get from this Washington Memphis game. I'm gonna try to refresh the model and see if we have it fully updated for Memphis. Dude, why does
Okay.
this happen? All right, well, talk to me about the dummy while I try to relog back into Occupy real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I just refreshed mine. So Champagne's the top DK value, and I like plugging him in right away.
Okay, Champagne from Washington, and then
Pippen.
yeah, Pippen. So we'll do Champagne.
Something. Yeah.
Scottie Pippen. What's his price?
4,100.
I mean, how do we not play Scottie Pippen at
Yeah.
4,100? We know the
We have
ceiling that this guy has.
we have him at 54%, and that's way too low.
Yeah. Okay, let's just take a quick look at Memphis. 23.2 DK value. Yeah. Do we want to slide Jalen Wells in there too, showing up as a 19.3?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I saw a couple questions about him. So, do you think he's a pivot to the other guys, or is he the guy that people are going to try to pivot from?
I think he's the guy people are going to try and pivot from.
Do you think that's correct?
No, I think Wells is a good play. They've shown they're willing to give him minutes, and he can score. So they're going to need him.
Yeah, I like him. I don't think I'm going to jam him in like I'm jamming in Scottie Pippen or Champagne, but I'm definitely going to be
No,
very heavy on him.
no. If there's one thing to know about Memphis, it's that they don't care to run 12 guys out there. So
Yeah, I mean, top two value plays. I might L word them. Then, do we want to slide in Jonas?
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think we should. Assuming he's starting, we're going to play him, and so don't want to tell you get away from a guy who could put up 50. What else from this game? I mean, we have
I kind of like the pivot, like from Wells pivot into Laravia. That's pretty solid.
okay. We could try that too, or we could just slide him in the lineup with him.
Yeah, they're so cheap. I mean, you could play them both.
Laravia. What's Laravia's projected ownership now? 20 and
20%.
10%. It
Yeah.
feels light, right? I feel like that's a spot we can kind of attack a little bit harder.
Yeah, small forward, power forward as well. I think that's really good.
So that leaves us 10K. I'm just going to plug in AD. So you can plug in AD or Wemby and util, and you probably actually have to get rid of a value play because this is, I mean, you could just play three studs here. That works too. Or maybe if you fade Joval, you could go Wemby and AD at center and util, still have 4,100 to fit in KPJ. There's an
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, you can pretty much play whoever you want with how much value we have.
We got a starting lineup. Let's pull that up before we switch over to the Discord. Poole, Carrington, Koulibaly, Champagne, Joval. Okay, so it's as expected. And like I said, I'm not going to play 100% Joval. I'm going to be very heavy on him, though, because we would really hate to miss out. But there's a higher risk of him getting benched today than there has been the last two games.
Yep.
Did we go over Houston? Yeah, I think we mentioned that we both like Fred VanVleet if he ends up playing, and if he's out, we like getting Tamar Amon Thompson because the field's not going to be able to. And then it's a slight boost for basically everyone else.
Yeah. The only other guy I have some interest in is Jabari.
Yeah, Jabari, I feel like they're not correcting his price, and we actually have him projected for 34 minutes. He's showing up as a top value here, so that's another idea for a value pivot.
Yep.
If for whatever reason you're trying to get away from Memphis, Washington. Just real quick, back to that question about max players from this game. I'm not setting a rule. I'm probably going to have some lineups with like 6 players, maybe even 7 players from this game. If I'm building a single entry, I don't know. I'm not going to say maybe 5, 6, whatever works. Like, don't think about it that way. Just if the players fit and they work, then run with it. They're all so cheap that it's really hard for them to cut into each other's ceilings that much.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. Smitty, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I don't. Just keep up with the news, and we'll be in Discord.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys tuning in to us today. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. You get notifications when we're live. And Jayhawk's about to go live into Discord. Instructions are in the description below. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you.